Have you ever sat down to make something for your shop and thought, who am I actually making this for? Or maybe you've somehow wondered how some handmade businesses seem to take off overnight, while others, even super talented creators, barely get any traction. Well, if that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. Researching your niche is one of those things that most handmade business owners actually skip out on in the beginning, but it's also one of the biggest reasons why people struggle with sales and burnout, or just feeling like they're creating for everyone and therefore end up creating for no one. Hi, my name is Sterling and I'm the artist here behind Cactus Lady Creation, and here on this channel I share my journey of being an artist as well as my insights of running my handmade business over the past 8 years. So if you're into any and all of those things, please consider subscribing and joining back up with me each week for more videos like this. So in this video, we're going to explore something that will give your creative business much more clarity and direction, and that is how do you actually research your niche as a handmade business? Because you can be incredibly skilled, you can make gorgeous pieces, and you can even post consistently and be doing everything right. But if you don't research your niche or even know what a niche is, it's going to feel like you're just shouting out into the void sometimes. But when you actually know your niche and know how to research it properly, your ideas and direction will come much easier, and your ideas for your products and services will also come much easier. Your marketing goals will get way simpler and your messaging will become clearer, and you'll be able to find your ideal customers and clients. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 simple steps that will help you understand what your niche is, who your audience is, and how to position your handmade work in a way that feels aligned, sustainable, and true to your style without boxing yourself in or burning out. All right, let's get into it. So before we pick a niche, let's zoom out and actually look at the big picture here. And most people skip straight into what should I make or what is my niche? But the first step is actually understanding the landscape that your handmade work sits in. So you want to start by looking at a broader category of where your creativity naturally falls under. For example, accessories, home decor, polymer clay jewelry, pet accessories, or upcycled fashion. These are all umbrella categories, which means that they tell you the general area that you're creating in, but they're also still way too broad, and so we have to niche down from them. So spend a little bit of extra time exploring these broader spaces on places like Etsy, Pinterest, TikTok Shop, Instagram, Amazon Handmade, and YouTube search. And you're not trying to make any decisions yet here, you just want to observe the general category that you're in, and you want to ask yourself what stands out to you and what seems super saturated, and also what feels like it's growing, and what styles or aesthetics are trending. Also, what do you naturally gravitate toward? And sometimes you'll notice small patterns. For example, you might see that crochet clothing is huge, but there's a lot of focus on neutrals or oversized silhouettes. Or maybe you'll notice that pet accessories are everywhere, but most of them are bright and playful, and nothing fits that more minimalist aesthetic or that glam vibe. So these types of observations matter because they'll help you understand where you fit inside of the larger world of handmade products. And at this time, it's just about gathering data so that when you do niche down, you're able to make informed decisions instead of guessing. All right, so once you've looked at that big picture category, now we can zoom in and explore the micro niches inside of it. So this is where your artistic style will really begin to stand out with the pieces that you create and the products and services that you offer. So a micro niche is just a smaller, more specific segment of a broader category. And it's the difference between saying I make crochet clothing versus I make grunge clothing inspired by 90s band tees, or I make pet accessories versus I make matching pet and owner bandanas for small dog breeds. So the more specific you get, the easier it'll become to identify your core audience and create products that they genuinely want. So here are some examples to get your ideas flowing. Instead of crochet home decor, you might see micro niches like crochet spooky decor, or pastel goth wall hangings, or cottagecore coasters, or boho plant hangers for tiny apartment spaces. So the goal here is to just look out for small specific pockets of interest inside your category. And you're basically just trying to identify here what micro communities exist inside of that bigger community. And so to find them, you can do some research by looking at Etsy search suggestions and TikTok Shop. You can also check out Pinterest boards and related searches, and even Facebook groups in your craft niche. Also, YouTube videos in your category are really helpful here, and Reddit communities as well. And then while you're scanning, you can notice what styles keep popping up and what types of products have a lot of engagement. Also, what seems underserved and what gets tons of search results versus what barely shows up. And here's something that's really important here. A micro niche doesn't mean that you have to get stuck making that same thing forever and ever. You're not locking yourself in, but you're starting here with clarity so that you can just grow in a way that makes sense with where you're going and where you're evolving. So for example, a creator might start with crystal wire wrapped jewelry, but eventually expand into home decor or ritual tools once they've built a recognizable identity. Another creator might begin with crochet horror themed decor, but then eventually branch out into clothing or patterns that fit that same vibe. So micro niches just help you get noticed a lot faster because you're not competing with the entire internet. You're just speaking directly to the people who already love a specific aesthetic or niche. And once you've identified a few micro niches that interest you, you can keep a list or a notes in your folders. And this list will be the foundation for especially steps 3, 4, and 5, where we'll start to see what real people are actually looking for. So now that you've explored your big category and a few micro niches that you're interested in, step 3 is where the research gets real, because instead of guessing what people want, we're actually going to listen to what they're already asking for. So I know I personally used to skip this part and then wonder why my products weren't selling. But once you start paying attention to what people are actively searching for, complaining about, or wishing existed, you can stop creating in the dark. So in order to do this, you can start by visiting places where people naturally talk about their frustrations and interests and things that they can't find anywhere else. So some of the best places are TikTok comments, Pinterest trends, Etsy search suggestions, Google Trends, Reddit communities in your niche, Facebook craft groups or aesthetic specific groups, and even YouTube comments on creators that are similar to your niche. So while you're scrolling, you want to pay attention to phrases like, does anyone know where I can buy this? Or I wish someone made this, but in this style. Or I can never find a version of this that isn't too expensive, too small, or not my style. Or why does no one make these anymore? Also, this sold out everywhere. These are literal clues from your audience telling you exactly what they want. And the great thing here is that you don't even have to have an audience to do this yet. You're basically borrowing the audience of bigger creators and using that data to build your own direction. And a few examples of this might look like, if you're into crochet, you might notice that people are asking specifically for goth or emo-friendly patterns, or size-inclusive patterns, or modern home decor that isn't granny square based. For example, if you're in jewelry, you might see people looking for lightweight statement earrings or crystal pieces that don't look like every other piece on Etsy. And all of these little comments and questions matter because this part of the research really shows you what people love, what they're frustrated by, what they can't seem to find, and ultimately where opportunities lie for you. And then as you go, you can start copying screenshots and comments into a notes file, or making a folder called audience research. All of this research can become the foundation to your product ideas, your messaging, and the way that you stand out in your niche. All right, so once you've gathered all of that real world feedback and you've seen what people are asking for, step 4 is to actually look at what other sellers in your niche are doing or what they're not doing. And what we're not going to do here is copy other people's work out here, but instead observe the landscape so that you can position yourself in a way that feels unique and intentional. So you can start by choosing 3 to 5 businesses or creators that are in that same general niche or category as you and selling products similar to the micro niche that you're exploring, and also that are getting good engagement or consistent sales. And you can find these businesses on Etsy, Instagram or TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube if they create content, or whatever platform you plan on selling or creating on. And then once you've chosen some examples, you want to study them and you want to look at what products are selling out the most. So you want to look at their best sellers list on Etsy or look at their TikTok or Reels with the most engagement. And this will show you what their audience resonates with. And also you want to look at what their photography and branding look like. Is it colorful, minimalist, whimsical, cozy? Aesthetic definitely plays a role in how this product is being perceived. Also, how do they describe their products? The language that sellers use will give you clues about their customers, like do they use lightweight or hypoallergenic or eco-friendly, hand-dyed, maybe one of a kind, and also what are their price points? And this will help you gauge the range that their audience is comfortable with. You don't have to match this, but it's just helpful to know overall. And most importantly, you want to read reviews because reviews are gold. You can look for patterns like what customers rave about, or what do they complain about, or what do they wish was different, and what they say they can't find anywhere else. And this is where the gaps in the market can become incredibly clear because, for example, maybe a customer likes crystal wired wrap necklaces, but keeps asking for shorter or longer chain options. Or maybe pet owners love a specific harness design, but they want matching accessories that the shops don't offer. And within those gaps, that's where your niche often lives. And this is also where your unique style and creative voice and personality can actually fill those spaces in ways that no one else can copy. And with this, you're also just not simply copying someone else, but you're actually identifying opportunities and things that the market wants but isn't fully getting. Okay, so now that you've explored the big picture, you've narrowed it down, you've got your micro niches, and you listened to what people are actually asking for and studied what other sellers are doing. Step 5 is where everything comes together because now we're going to actually test your niche before you fully commit. And with this, you're able to dip your toe into the water and see how people respond before fully committing to a full collection with this style. And here are some super simple, low pressure ways to test out your niche. You can share sneak peeks on social media and post a work in progress shot or a color palette of a finished piece, and then watch what happens. Do people comment or ask questions or save it or share it even? And also you can show your creative process. And this is a big one because when you show the process of you making something, even if it's just a little, you can quickly see what ideas people connect with and which ones they scroll past. Also, put up a tiny batch. You can list 1 or 2 items in Etsy, Shopify, or on a story sale, and then just collect information. What gets views, what gets favorited, and what gets added to carts. And then you want to also offer a pre-order of one design. And this is a great way to test demand without investing a lot of upfront time or materials into your piece. You can also bring a prototype to a small market or event, and even if you don't have a full collection, you can just bring 1 or 2 pieces and see how people react to them. Do they love them? Do they ignore them? Or do they ask questions about them? You can also ask feedback intentionally to your audience. You can say something like, hey, I'm testing out a few new designs, so let me know which ones you would love to see in the online shop. People love giving their opinions, honestly, and this is a really incredible way to get feedback from people. You can also ask yourself here, which ideas get consistent interest and which ones feel most exciting for you to make? Also, which pieces align with the micro niche that you've identified with earlier? And when you look at all of this together, your niche starts to reveal itself and it's been tested. And something to remember here is that your niche isn't set in stone. It can grow with you and shift as your skills and style and audience evolve. And what matters here is just starting with enough clarity to build momentum. And those are the 5 steps to researching your niche in your handmade business. I hope that this video gave you a clear path forward and a way to actually enjoy the process of figuring out who you're creating for. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe and join back up with me each week. And also let me know in the comments below what your niche is or what you're thinking about exploring right now, because I'd love to hear it and we can also chat down there. I definitely read all of the comments and it's always really great to see what everyone is up to and get inspiration down there. And also, if you want to check out more videos like this on branding and pricing and different tips from my insights of running my small handmade business, definitely check out the Entrepreneur playlist next. Well, thank you for watching and I hope you'll join me in the next one.